If your blood pressure has been creeping up and you're staring at another pill bottle, wondering if there's anything else you can do, let me tell you something that surprised even me when I dug into the research. There are ordinary foods, things you can buy at any grocery store that have been studied for lowering blood pressure, and a few of them work faster than most people would ever guess. Today I'm going to walk you through 6 of them, but the one most seniors overlook is number 5, and it's the one I'd pay the closest attention to, so stay with me to the end. Now, before we start, I want to be straight with you because that's the only way I know how to do this. I'm not a doctor. I'm a health educator, and my job is to read the studies and explain them to you in plain English, the way a friend would over a cup of coffee. So everything I share today is general information, not medical advice. And I want to be crystal clear about one thing right up front, because the title of this video might get a few people excited in the wrong direction. These foods are studied as something you eat alongside your treatment, not instead of it. If you're on blood pressure medication, you do not stop it, you do not skip it, you do not cut the dose on your own because a fellow on YouTube told you about beets. Never stop a medication on your own. If anything here interests you, the move is to bring it to your doctor or your pharmacist and ask them about it. Deal? Good. Let's get into it. Number 1 on the list is beets, and I'm starting here because the research on beets is honestly some of the most striking I've seen for any food. Beets are loaded with something called dietary nitrate. When you eat them, your body converts that nitrate into a compound called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide does something very specific. It relaxes and widens your blood vessels. When the vessels open up a little wider, blood flows through with less pressure against the walls. That's the whole mechanism in a sentence. And here's the part that surprises people. Studies have found that a single glass of beetroot juice can begin lowering blood pressure within just a few hours. Some research has shown meaningful drops in systolic pressure, that's the top number, in people who drank beet juice daily over a few weeks. Now, how much? In the studies, we're often talking about something like a cup of beetroot juice a day, or a good serving of cooked beets. A couple of things to know, though. Beets can turn your bathroom visits a little pink. That's harmless. Don't panic. And if you've ever had kidney stones, beets are high in something called oxalates, so that's a perfect example of a question for your doctor. But as a starting point, beets are about as close to a natural blood vessel relaxer as the produce aisle offers. Number 2 is leafy greens, spinach, Swiss chard, arugula, kale, collard greens. And there's a beautiful reason these belong right next to beets. Leafy greens are also packed with that same dietary nitrate. So you're getting that same nitric oxide pathway, that same vessel-relaxing effect from a big plate of greens. But leafy greens bring a second gift to the table, and that's potassium. Now I want you to hold on to the word potassium because it's going to come up again, and it's one of the most underrated minerals for blood pressure in the entire diet. Here's the simple version of how potassium helps. Most of us eat far too much sodium, salt troughs, and sodium tends to pull water into the bloodstream and push pressure up. Potassium does the opposite. It helps your kidneys flush excess sodium out through your urine, and it helps relax the walls of your blood vessels. So potassium and sodium are like a seesaw, and most older Americans are sitting heavy on the sodium side. Research consistently links diets higher in potassium-rich foods with lower blood pressure. A couple of handfuls of greens a day worked into your meals is a genuinely powerful habit. But, and this is important, if you have kidney disease or you take a medication that raises potassium, like certain blood pressure pills called potassium-sparing diuretics or some of the ones ending in sartan or pril, then loading up on potassium is something you must clear with your doctor first. For some people, too much potassium is dangerous. So that's not a footnote, that's a real conversation to have. Number 3 follows naturally, and it's beans and legumes, lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, black beans, white beans, the whole family. Beans are one of the richest potassium sources you can put on a plate, so they're working that same sodium-flushing, vessel-relaxing angle we just talked about. But beans add something the greens don't have in the same quantity, and that's soluble fiber. Fiber does a lot of quiet good work in the body. It helps steady your blood sugar, it helps your cholesterol, and it supports a healthy gut, Kaisi. And there's growing research connecting gut health to blood pressure in ways we're still untangling. Studies looking at people who regularly eat legumes have found modest but real reductions in blood pressure over time. And beans have a practical magic to them. They're filling, they're cheap, and when you build a meal around a cup of lentils or beans, you're usually crowding out something saltier and more processed that would have pushed your pressure the other way. So it's a double win: what you add and what you replace. A serving most days of the week is a reasonable, well-studied target. If you're not used to beans, go slow so your digestion can catch up, and rinse the canned ones to wash off some of the added sodium. Let me pause right here because we're at the halfway point and this is the natural place for a quick note. If you're finding this useful and you'd like the simple one-page summary I put together, the 6 foods, the rough amounts, and the questions to ask your doctor, I left a link down in the description. It's free. It's just my way of helping you remember this without taking notes. No pressure at all. Now let's keep going, because number 4 is one I love. Number 4 is fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, trout, herring. The star here is the omega-3 fatty acids, those healthy fats that fatty fish are famous for. Omega-3s have been studied for years for heart health, and one of the ways they appear to help is by supporting the flexibility of your blood vessels and easing inflammation in the body. Research suggests that people who regularly eat fatty fish or who get enough omega-3s tend to have somewhat lower blood pressure, and the effect seems a bit stronger in folks who already have elevated pressure. The common guidance you'll see in the research is something like 2 servings of fatty fish a week. And there's a bonus reason I bring up sardines and salmon for those of us over 60. They're an easy, gentle source of protein, which gets harder and more important to hold on to as we age. Now, if you take a blood thinner like warfarin or you're on other medications, high-dose fish oil supplements are a real ask-first situation because omega-3s can affect bleeding. But the fish itself on your dinner plate is one of the most well-rounded choices on this whole list. Number 5, and this is the one I told you to wait for, the one most seniors completely overlook, is garlic. Plain, ordinary garlic. I know, it sounds almost too simple, but the research on garlic and blood pressure is genuinely impressive, and it's been studied seriously for decades. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which forms when you crush or chop a fresh clove. Allicin appears to help your body produce more of that nitric oxide we keep coming back to. There it is again, the vessel relaxer, which helps the arteries loosen and open. Reviews of multiple studies have found that garlic, especially concentrated forms like aged garlic extract, can produce reductions in blood pressure that researchers describe as comparable in size to what you'd see from some standard medications in people with elevated pressure. That is a remarkable thing for a food to do, and it's exactly why I wanted you to stay for it. Here's a little practical tip from the research. When you crush or mince fresh garlic, let it sit for about 10 minutes before you cook it. That resting time lets the allicin fully form so the heat doesn't destroy it before it develops. Now, a serving of fresh garlic a day is what a lot of the studies point toward, but I'll say it plainly, garlic, particularly in supplement form, can thin the blood and can interact with medications. So if you're on a blood thinner or heading for surgery, this is a clear talk to your pharmacist item. But as a food worked into your cooking, garlic might be the most underrated thing in your kitchen. And number 6, the one that'll make you smile, dark chocolate. Yes, really, and I want to be careful and honest about this one. Dark chocolate, the good kind with a high cocoa content, is rich in compounds called flavanols. Flavanols, like several other foods today, help your body make more nitric oxide, which relaxes the blood vessels. Studies have found that regular intake of cocoa flavanols can produce a small but measurable drop in blood pressure. Now here's where honesty matters, because this is where people go wrong. We are talking about a small square or two of dark chocolate, say 70% cocoa or higher, not a candy bar, and definitely not milk chocolate loaded with sugar. The benefit comes from the cocoa, not the sugar and fat. And if you eat a whole bar every night, you'll cause yourself more problems than you solve. So think of dark chocolate as a tiny, pleasant addition, not a treatment. A little square of something bitter and rich, enjoyed slowly. That's the picture. So let's pull it all together, because you might have noticed a thread running through almost everything I said. Beets, greens, garlic, dark chocolate. Over and over, the same hero kept showing up: nitric oxide, the compound that relaxes and opens your blood vessels, and alongside it, potassium, doing the steady work of flushing out excess sodium. That's not a coincidence. That's your body's own pressure regulating system, and these foods are simply giving it the raw materials to do its job a little better. None of this is magic, it's biology, and it's well studied, but I have to land this plane the same way I took off, because it's the most important thing I'll say today. The word in that title was alongside, not instead of. These foods are studied as helpers, as part of a pattern of eating that, combined with whatever your doctor has prescribed, gives you the best shot at aging well. The man who eats beautifully and quietly throws away his pills is not the man who wins. The one who wins eats beautifully, takes what his doctor prescribed, and brings these ideas into the office to talk through together. If your numbers improve, your doctor is the one who can safely adjust anything, never you, never on your own. So here's my second and last little tip, friend to friend. If even one of these 6 surprised you, write it on a sticky note and bring it to your next appointment. And that summary sheet I mentioned is still waiting in the description if you want the whole list in one place. That's it. No hype, just something to help you remember. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. Remember, everything I shared today is general educational information, not medical advice, and your situation is your own. So please talk with your doctor or pharmacist before you change anything about your diet or your medications. Take good care of yourself, eat well, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.